Hey there, YouTube. Matt6405 here. Will freely admit and get out front of the concept that I don't upload a lot of videos. And this kind of overview or review of some hardware here on pagers is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. And one, because I'm a little mental over paging, a lot of nostalgia there for me. I grew up with pagers. We have a representation of a numeric pager, an alphanumeric pager, and then of course a two-way pager. These two here have service. My numeric pager currently does not. This is where I started out with, both early in life and then here, within the last 3 years, in which I discovered that paging is still alive and well in the United States, and but not a lot out there. Not a lot out there on paging in general as far as literature, and YouTube doesn't have a lot of offerings as far as reviews, certainly any kind of live models that have service. It's more people found an old pager at a yard sale or in their junk drawer and pulled it out just to show everybody what technology used to be back in the day. So I get it. Paging, first, the cavemen discovered fire and then they discovered paging. I understand. It's an old technology. But I think it's relevant today. Certainly for me, it gives me some freedom back relative to connectivity. I say that because, think back, 2007, the iPhone debuts, the OG original iPhone, summer, fall of 2007, and then that's when we all lost our minds. Now we're all, connected with the interwebs and, phone and text messages and picture messages and Instagram and Snapchat and all this other stuff that I don't use. The apps, Instagram, Snapchat, that's just not for me. I'm almost 40. So these are still, near and dear to my heart. These two particularly, because these were out of my league as a young man, because they were cost prohibitive, they were expensive, and the service was expensive. But this is what I had, a numeric pager. This is by a company called Apollo. This is their Apollo XL, and it's very similar to what I had in a Motorola Bravo numeric pager. And so it came with a telephone number, and when somebody wanted to get a hold of me, they would call that telephone number. They'd get a series of beeps, because at that time I didn't have voicemail or anything like that. These all have voicemail on them now. But they'd get a series of beeps. They would enter in with their telephone's keypad the number that they wanted to be displayed on the pager, and then they'd finish it off with the pound sign, referred to today stupidly as a hashtag. It's a pound sign, the little tic-tac-toe sign. It's the pound sign. Come on. So they would do that, and then this would happen. I'm receiving a page. So when you got a page, you didn't have to let it go through its full alert cycle. You could hit a button and it would kill the audible alert. And you see it currently says no pages, but that's where the telephone number would be displayed. And then you'd call it back. Maybe it's a number that you recognized. See, that was back in the day when we actually memorized numbers, before these stupid things, my Samsung Galaxy S7, where I'm guilty of it now. I don't memorize anything. Maybe it's a number you didn't recognize. You would still call it back, because maybe your buddy's stranded on the side of the road and he's at a payphone, a pay box, and that was back when payphones were, one, in existence, and two, received incoming calls. A lot of them don't nowadays if you can find them. And then if you can find them nowadays, it's like $1 for the first 3 minutes, even for a local call. back in the olden days, I remember dropping a quarter into a payphone, and you could talk all day long as it was a local call. But then there's also people out there that don't even know what a long distance call actually means, and calling cards and whatnot. So I'm very mental over telephonic technology. Landlines are still near and dear to my heart. It's just what I consider to be a simpler time. You were still connected with the world with one of these, but you still had the freedom to respond on your own terms. Nowadays, what happens? Somebody calls your cell phone, they give it 2.5 rings, they hang up, and then you get 2 rapid-fire text messages saying something to the effect of, "Are you okay? Are you dead in a ditch? Do you not love me anymore?" Whatever, right? People don't have patience for anything nowadays. At least with this is, hey, listen, I paged, Matt, still waiting on a call back. Maybe I'm not near a phone. The problem is we're all near phones now. I kind of went into protest mode with cell phones, and when I first activated this jammy, I went cell phone free for a whopping 48 hours. My wife was pregnant at the time, and there was a lot of, the service was great, the hardware was awesome, and I felt very reminiscent of years gone by, but there are no more payphones anymore, at least not ones that are readily accessible. And so there was a lot of borrowing of cell phones, a lot of, I stopped at a few gas stations and had to essentially plead my case on why I needed to borrow their phone, because you would have thought I was asking for somebody's virginity when asking to borrow and to make a telephone call. So it's 2007 is when the iPhone came out, and that's when the world changed. Not that long ago. So Numeric pager, very cool. Apollo, great company. I'm actually looking at an alphanumeric pager made by them as potentially of a way to go, and we'll see. My wife thinks I'm crazy on why we pay an annual subscription to. The reason I have 2 right now is I'm kind of working on this 2-way, seeing if it's going to be something feasible for me. But I think the alphanumeric is probably the way I will go, unless this turns out to be worth it. I'll put it to you that way. So next on the hit list is the alphanumeric. This is made by a company called Davis Telecom. A very cool product. This is their. It's the BR802, I believe. I'll fix it in the notes. But this has the potential or the capability of receiving text messages, actual word messages on the pager. These were, the Cadillac of pagers back in the day, because people didn't have cell phones. People didn't have text messaging. So what happened here is that, for the everyman, if you were willing to pay, you had a telephone number, sometimes an 800 number, and it would go to an answering service. So Debbie, the Time Life operator, for those that you remember who that was, an operator would pick up a live person, and you would dictate the message that you wanted to appear on the pager to that person. And then he or she, likely a she, would send it out to the pager. Now with cell phones and SMS, I'm going to show you how. So I just sent it, give it a couple of Mississippis, and it should be rocking and rolling. So, cover up my number here. Okay, so it says, let me activate the old backlight here. That really didn't help. Anyway, it says, hello YouTube, I hope you like my video. And we can go through and we can delete that message, and it says no messages. It's a lot clearer. I'm sorry, I'm using an old flip video camera. Like I said, I don't usually post to YouTube, so but there's not a lot of stuff out there on pagers. I get it. I mean, I know it's old, but I mean, good Lord, there's more videos on the old Apple Newton, the first PDA. I mean, YouTube's usually good for some nostalgic technology being looked at. But let's look at some of the alerts here. So that what you heard there was the chirp. That's the more traditional pager sound. This one got a little fancy with some of the polymorphic ring or melodies. Vibrate. Alphanumeric. Pretty cool. Now, if I said this was the Cadillac, then this is probably like the Rolls Royce. And this is actually a Motorola T900 that is 17 years old. Currently has service, and you can see on the screen there that I'm able to send and receive messages. Let's go into preferences. Let me turn on a little backlight for you. Mailbox alert. We got vibrate action there. Silent. The standard. That's a very nostalgic sound for me. I remember that quite well. Sound wave ring. I remember that one. Triangle. Just a beep. Chirp. Chirp, then vibrate. Vibrate, and then beep. So that's usually the one I stick with. So let us go into, as I nuked the camera there, sorry. Let me show you how this receives. Grab my text message from before. We'll send that one off. I found that the two-way, it's a few more Mississippis. That other one came through on the alphanumeric within about 5 seconds. The two-way takes a little bit longer. It's about a 20 to 30 second delay in receiving. So actually that was a little... So I can kill that, and... Sorry, I'm just hiding my telephone number there. Not that I wouldn't like to have 17,000 pages from the internet, but so it says, hello YouTube, I hope you like my video, just like before. But with this I can, okay, so this is how we can send a message, a reply back to the message that we just received. So I've already selected the address, go into write message, and so we'll say hi from two-way pager from YouTube. And then we go and say send. Now it says message transmitting. We can go back into the mailbox. You can't see it, but there's a little flashing arrow saying that it's in the midst of transmitting, and that is it. Now the transmission is a little pokey, and that's why I'm saying I'm kind of wargaming what's going on. Not the most financially sound decision, but this is 17 years old. The company that I got it from says they've updated the capacitor. There's a nickel metal hydride battery that powers its little transmitter inside, and they said they've beefed that up. It's 17 years old. It's old, as with the rest of this technology. The company that I spoke of, and here is the message that came through. So if I can hide a couple of things here, it says, you know, hi from two-way pager from YouTube. So it came through. But I was saying USA Mobility, which is now Spoke sells a modern, if you want to call that, version of, you know, their two-way pager that's called the T52. And if UPS would hurry up, that is supposed to be arriving today. Hence my urgency on not delaying any more of making this video, because I wanted to show the T900 functional. They're going to think of a cell phone with its IMEI number, its little electronic serial number. Pagers have cap codes, so they're going to swap the cap code that is currently on the service for the T900. We're going to swap the T52's cap code, and I will do a video on the T52 standalone. So I'm hoping that that will solve some issues I'm having with being able to send out. Obviously, the point is, okay, I'm out on my run or whatnot. I'm rocking just my two-way pager. I can receive all day long. This actually has what's called some reflex technology. Flex is just a, if you can see that, it says flex, but it's just a technology that the pagers use. Reflex meaning because this has a transmitter in it, it's basically like a read receipt or a delivery receipt. So if I'm out of the coverage area, or if this pager is turned off, once it tastes the network again, if there's messages that are still needing to be delivered, once they're delivered to here, the pager sends out a little confirmation, and I get all my messages. With these two, it's all in or nothing. So they're either on the network and receive, or they don't. So there is no way of knowing whether or not something has been missed. So obviously that's a plus for the two-way pager. Plus, if I'm out and able to send I got it, I'm en route, I'll pick up milk, whatever. If I'm able to reply back, that's a benefit. But not, this is a little more expensive, and I can get into cost breakdown in subsequent videos, but I didn't want to make this one too terribly long if you've hung in with me thus far. So, but there it is, folks. Apollo XL, the Davis Telecom BR802, and then the Motorola T900, all alive and well in 2017. Long live paging, and hey, let's get some more let's get some more payphones out on the corners. But neat stuff. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and please leave me a tasteful comment below, and let me know how I did. I know my cinematography probably could have plus that up just a touch, but let me know what you think, and let me know what kind of pager you rocked back in the day. So alright, now my cell phone's blowing up with work, and I'll sign off. See you, gang.